But at that moment, suddenly, from the far-off horizon, a violet rainbow streaked across the sky, howling fiercely as it rushed forward. The other disciples from the 6 lineages turned their heads and gazed towards the source of the purple aura. Many of them, upon seeing it, immediately wore strange expressions. Tian Yunzi remained calm, not even glancing at the violet aura as it surged toward him. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back, his face expressionless. The violet aura howled as it came closer, abruptly stopping about 100 meters away. It dissipated, revealing the figure of a middle-aged man within. This man had graying hair at his temples, a gaunt face, and an overall appearance reminiscent of a sharp sword, radiating a chilling aura. This presence was quite similar to the disciples of Sword Venerable Ling Tianhou. He wore a purple robe, almost identical in design to the robes of Wang Lin and Bai Wei. Standing there, he cupped his fist towards Tian Yunzi and solemnly said, "Disciple Qintao, greetings to Master." "It's him." Bai Wei's eyes narrowed. The 4th senior sister, Zhao Ximing, also fixed her gaze on him, and a complex look flashed in her eyes. 6th of the purple lineage. He was one of the 7 children of heavenly destiny before Sun Yun. It's said that he has been following Master for quite some time. After being defeated by Sun Yun, he left the Tian Yun sect and went into outer space for further training. Whispers of conversation spread among the disciples of the other lineages. Tian Yunzi's gaze turned to Chen Tao, a hint of approval flashing in his eyes. "You've returned, that's good." Chen Tao, covered in dust, spoke respectfully. "I wouldn't have delayed, Master, but while passing by the Black Ink Star, I came across a rare treasure. I was so pleased by it that I decided to present it to you, which caused a bit of delay." Tian Yunzi chuckled heartily. What treasure could be so precious that it caught your eye? Chen Tao's expression remained unchanged as he tapped his storage pouch. A moment later, a 6-petaled flower appeared in his hand. The flower was white, but its 6 petals shimmered in red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, and blue, 6 colors in total. Against the backdrop of these 6 colors, the white flower didn't seem out of place at all. In fact, it appeared ethereal, as if it were being elevated by the light of the 6 colors, making it even more enchanting. "This is the flower, Master. My knowledge is limited, so I can't tell what it is, but on Black Ink Star, 3 high-ranking wild beasts fought fiercely over it. It took considerable effort to obtain it." Chen Tao extended the flower towards Tian Yunzi, speaking respectfully. The flower floated gently toward Tian Yunzi and stopped in front of him. He examined it for a moment and then spoke. "This flower is called the 7-colored glass light. It takes 10 years to root, 100 years to scatter its leaves, 1,000 years to shine, and 10,000 years to bloom. Each bloom reveals only one color, and only after 6 blooms will it shine with 7-colored light on the 7th. This is a treasure loved by demon beasts. If they swallow the 7-colored light, it greatly benefits them. It's considered one of the rare treasures of heaven and earth. In the Cultivation Alliance, it ranks 93rd among natural treasures." "Elder Sun, am I correct?" Tian Yunzi asked, glancing at Elder Sunday. Elder Sun smiled faintly and nodded. "Yes, this is indeed the 7-colored glass light. However, it's still a bit premature. It hasn't yet formed its 7th petal. But with the powers of Master Tian Yunzi, I'm sure it won't be long before it fully blooms." Tian Yunzi raised his right hand, gently grasping the flower, and smiled. "Good, I will take this flower as a gift." Chen Tao's eyes flickered as he turned his gaze to Wang Lin and the others from the purple lineage. He spoke calmly. "Our purple lineage is getting fewer by the day. Bai Wei, Zhao Ximing, it's been a long time." Bai Wei's expression looked somewhat unnatural, but she didn't speak. Zhao Ximing, on the other hand, revealed a complex expression, sighing lightly as she said, "I knew it. For Master's 10,000-year birthday, you would definitely return." Chen Tao glanced at Zhao Ximing, then shifted his gaze, giving Wang Lin only a brief look before turning away. "Where is Sun Yun?" Zhao Ximing sighed inwardly and softly transmitted a few words. Chen Tao's expression changed, and he suddenly turned his gaze toward Zhao Ximing. After scanning the group, his eyes finally landed on Wang Lin. He spoke slowly. "You are the 7th? State your name." "Wang Lin." Wang Lin's eyes remained calm as he stared at Chen Tao. The cultivation level of this man was unmasked, and from the moment he arrived, Wang Lin could vaguely tell that his cultivation had far surpassed the infant metamorphosis stage, likely reaching the pinnacle stage. However, Wang Lin could not discern which specific stage of the pinnacle this person had reached. "You are not worthy to be my 7th junior. My 7th junior can only be Sun Yun." Qin Tao's gaze was indifferent as he looked away from Wang Lin. Tian Yunzi, observing his disciples, smiled but remained silent. Master, I have returned to regain my title as one of the 7 children of heavenly destiny. I hope you will grant me this wish, Qin Tao said, his voice respectful yet firm. Tian Yunzi smiled faintly and replied, as for the title of the 7 children of heavenly destiny, among the remaining members of the purple lineage, only you and your 7th junior are qualified. Only one of you can hold that title. Qin Tao's mouth curled into a faint, cold smile as he nodded. Without saying a word, he stepped forward. In the blink of an eye, he was standing right in front of Wang Lin. His right hand moved faster than lightning, a blur of motion, and with a quick flick, he cast a seal, sending it hurtling with the speed of thunder. The strike suddenly landed in the empty space a yard away from Wang Lin. A tremendous rumbling sound echoed, and Wang Lin's body instantly shot backward. The battle axe of the giant demon clan appeared before him, flashing as it blocked the force of the seal's impact. Meanwhile, a flicker of golden immortal power from Wang Lin's left hand was released, just enough to force him back several dozen yards. He finally steadied himself, his face darkening as he fixed his gaze on Qin Tao. Wang Lin had been fully focused, realizing that Qin Tao's seal wasn't meant to attack him but to intimidate. Though it had landed in empty space, the residual power had been enough to force him back. The sheer strength of it was clearly something he couldn't match. What Wang Lin didn't know was that Qin Tao, inwardly surprised, was also taken aback. The technique he had just used was immensely powerful. Even though it had landed in the void, its aftershock was enough to send this mere mid-infant metamorphosis brat flying over 100 yards. This would have been enough to intimidate him without further confrontation, and he would have directly obtained the title of Child of Heavenly Destiny. However, now it had only pushed Wang Lin back a few dozen yards, which didn't achieve the intended shock value. Instead, it felt as though he was trying to force a battle. You forfeit. Qin Tao's brows furrowed as he coldly looked at Wang Lin, his voice carrying an undeniable command. Wang Lin stared at Qin Tao, his eyes growing colder. The man's domineering presence was obvious. Without a word, Wang Lin's left hand, suffused with the power of the 5 Revolutions Golden Immortal, suddenly lifted and thrust forward. The 5 Revolutions Golden Immortal power immediately swirled around, emitting a strange, howling sound. In the blink of an eye, it was already nearly upon Qin Tao. Qin Tao glanced at the swirling vortex of golden immortal power and spoke softly, "This technique isn't meant to be used like this." With that, he pointed forward. His right index finger extended, and the wild vortex of golden immortal power immediately halted in place, humming as it vibrated before his finger. Qin Tao's right index finger flicked against the vortex, and the golden immortal vortex froze for a moment before slowly rotating. Its power increased, now reaching the 6th revolution. Without pausing, Qin Tao flicked 3 more times. Instantly, a terrifying aura that seemed capable of destroying heaven and earth surged from the golden immortal vortex. At that moment, the vortex had reached its peak, 9 revolutions. Qin Tao raised his head and looked at Wang Lin with disdain. He pressed forward with his right hand, and the 9 revolutions golden immortal vortex instantly shifted direction, howling as it hurtled toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin's face darkened. He immediately retreated, grabbing the battle axe in midair. His body leaped upward as he swung down in a single, powerful strike. A deafening thunderclap echoed as a 10-yard-long blade of light shot from the battle axe, hurtling toward the oncoming 9 revolutions vortex. In a flash, the 9 revolutions vortex slowed slightly, but it remained incredibly fast as it continued toward Wang Lin. In the face of danger, Wang Lin remained unruffled. His right hand rose, drawing through the air. A silvery glow enveloped the rushing 9 revolutions vortex. Simultaneously, he unleashed his teleportation art, not on himself, but on the vortex wrapped in silver light. With incredible speed, Wang Lin wielded the teleportation art, almost in the blink of an eye. He softly muttered, "Grand teleportation." As his words left his mouth, the silver light surrounding the 9 revolutions vortex flickered fiercely before vanishing completely, as though it had never existed. This scene caused the surrounding cultivators to focus intently, their eyes narrowing in surprise. Tian Yunzi's eyes flashed with admiration, nodding slightly. Qin Tao's gaze shifted. He no longer looked down on Wang Lin as he had before. All this occurred in a matter of moments. Nearly as soon as the 9 revolutions vortex disappeared, Wang Lin retracted his battle axe, forming a seal with his right hand. He pointed toward the divine chariot in the distance, shouting, "Soul Beast, appear." Qintao, who had only briefly glanced at the divine chariot earlier, suddenly turned to look at it. A powerful, indomitable aura surged into the sky. At the same time, a massive soul beast began to materialize, letting out a ferocious roar. Even the monks who had come to celebrate the birthday were staring in amazement, their eyes glinting with curiosity. Among them, a few elders with deep cultivation levels were particularly focused on the soul beast, their expressions full of contemplation. Even Sword Venerable Ling Tianho, upon seeing the soul beast, couldn't help but show a flicker of surprise in his eyes. Wang Lin, hovering in midair, shouted in a low voice, "Devour him." The soul beast howled and leaped forward with lightning speed, almost instantly charging toward Qintao. Qintao's eyes flashed with battle intent as he swiftly formed hand seals. In an instant, a purple orb of light materialized before him. As the soul beast pounced, the purple orb in Qintao's hand exploded at the moment of impact. With a deafening roar, the shockwave reverberated around, causing most of the cultivators' ears to ring. In midair, while Qintao's body remained still, his clothes were torn in several places, making him appear quite disheveled. As for the soul beast, it was pushed back several hundred feet by the shockwave, its body trembling before it howled again and rushed forward in a frenzied charge. This time, there were visible iron chain marks on its body, the chains pulled taut, one end attached to its body and the other connected to the divine chariot. Qintao's battle intent deepened. He threw his head back and laughed wildly, shouting, "What a beast! This is interesting." With that, he tore off his upper garment, exposing his torso. He slapped his storage pouch, and a long black rope appeared in his hand. The rope seemed to be made from some kind of creature's tendon, and as soon as it materialized, a strong, pungent smell and a wild aura wafted out. Beast, this earth dragon tendon was harvested after it survived alone on a demon star for over 500 years, taken from the corpse of a demon dragon. Let's see if you can escape from this dragon tendon. As he spoke, he stepped forward, completely ignoring Wang Lin. He whipped the dragon tendon and threw it toward the soul beast. The soul beast roared, swaying its body and suddenly darting to the side, narrowly avoiding the dragon tendon. In a flash, it reappeared beside Qintao and tried to devour him. Qintao laughed heartily and, in a sudden movement, disappeared with a flicker, using the dragon tendon to swing around at an impossible angle and ensnare the soul beast's neck. At the same moment, Qintao's body shifted again, landing on the soul beast's head. He jerked the dragon tendon, shouting, "Vile beast, let's see how you escape now." Wang Lin remained calm as ever. He raised his right hand, forming hand seals in front of him. After a moment, he pressed forward into the void and softly uttered, "Divine Chariot, 5th seal." As soon as the words left his mouth, a flash of black light appeared where Wang Lin's hand had been sealed. Simultaneously, the soul beast, bound by the dragon tendon, trembled violently, and its massive body began to emit a terrifying, unprecedented murderous aura from its eyes. It suddenly raised its head and let out a furious roar. In that roar, besides an unyielding will, there was also a sense of elation, as though something that had been suppressed for countless millennia had finally been unleashed. When Wang Lin had acquired the divine chariot, he had also received the inheritance to use it. However, his cultivation had been insufficient, and using it would likely result in the chariot devouring him before it could harm the enemy. So, he had never unlocked the seal. Today, for the first time, he had opened the first of the 5 seals, unleashing a surge of power from the divine chariot. The divine chariot was capable of shooting down countless celestial treasures. What would happen when all 5 seals were unlocked? Its power was unimaginable. However, with Wang Lin's current cultivation, even unlocking the first seal came with great risks. If he failed to retrieve the divine chariot, he would face its backlash. But with his cultivation having reached the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, Wang Lin felt a certain confidence. Otherwise, he would not have dared to open the seal. As the first seal on the divine chariot was broken, not only did the aura of the soul beast change, but even the vicious spikes on the chariot itself began to shift. The spikes wriggled and extended, becoming several times more menacing than before, each flashing with black light. The black light surged along the iron chains, rapidly flowing into the soul beast's body. The soul beast howled in madness as its body suddenly swelled several times in size, from its original tens of feet to over 100 feet, resembling a giant beast trampling the earth. It violently shook its body. For the first time, Qintao's expression changed. Black light burst forth from the soul beast's body, sweeping toward Qintao, who was standing on its back. Grabbing the dragon tendon in one hand and forming hand seals with the other, Purple orbs of light suddenly appeared around Xun'er's body. As the black light surged toward him, the orbs exploded one by one, filling the air with thunderous booms. Xun'er let out a muffled groan. The massive body of the soul beast, in that instant, was enveloped in a bright black light. Its entire form suddenly flickered and, to the astonishment of all, it completely transformed into a mass of black light, as if it were disintegrating, scattering wildly in all directions. In midair, only the dragon tendons trapped in the emptiness remained, along with Xun'er, who stood in the void with a grim expression. Around him, black light swiftly spun in circles. Almost in the blink of an eye, all the black light gathered together about 100 yards in front of Xun'er, eventually morphing into the shape of the soul beast. After the first seal was unlocked, the soul beast's attacks were no longer limited to devouring. It could now use some of its innate divine abilities. Although Xun'er's expression was grim, the fighting spirit in his eyes shone even more brightly. He suddenly turned around, looked at Wang Lin from a distance, and said in a cold voice, "Junior brother, you now possess the qualification to be my disciple. But this qualification comes with a price." Wang Lin stared at Xun'er and slowly said, "You are not qualified to be my senior brother." Xun'er glanced at Wang Lin, laughed loudly, and said, "This beast is a bit time-consuming to deal with, but as long as I capture you, this creature won't escape. Let's see if I'm qualified to be your senior brother." With that, he suddenly moved, transforming into a blur and charging straight at Wang Lin. The opponent was a peak cultivator, and Wang Lin naturally knew he was no match for him. However, he could not just give up. Even if he lost, Wang Lin wanted this person to understand that he should never provoke him. As Xun'er rushed toward him, Wang Lin remained calm, not dodging. Instead, he raised his right hand and extended his little finger. The third strike of Xun'er's 3 lethal techniques was the one that had been contemplated for a long time before he decided to pass it on to Wang Lin. Xun'er had solemnly warned that this technique should not be used lightly before reaching the late infant metamorphosis stage. If used in the early infant metamorphosis stage, it would definitely backfire, as one's cultivation at that stage couldn't bear the consequences. Only in the mid-infant metamorphosis stage could it be used with great difficulty, but even then, one must not use the technique to its full extent, or it would still backfire. Even in the late infant metamorphosis stage, caution was required when using this third strike. Only after reaching the peak of cultivation, the ascendant realm, could this technique be used without restraint. As Wang Lin's right little finger pointed toward Xun'er, at that moment, no aura of immortal power surged within him. Even his life force was slowly dissipating, and in a very short time, all vitality left his body. This scene immediately stunned most of the cultivators around him. Even Tian Yunzi's gaze sharpened, and he stared at Wang Lin for several moments. Sword Sovereign Ling Tianho, who had been observing from afar, had a gleam in his eye as he focused on Wang Lin and revealed a strange smile. This child is not bad. Among those who had gathered to celebrate, there was a red-faced elder with a large red gourd strapped to his back. At that moment, he let out a burp, glanced at Wang Lin, and muttered, "This move, it's exactly the same as the crazy person I encountered when I first came here." As Xun'er's figure approached within 5 yards of Wang Lin, a sense of crisis, one that had rarely appeared in all his years, flashed through his heart. This was a feeling that only arose when facing those truly formidable beings. At this moment, Wang Lin's entire body had lost all vitality. His eyes, however, were extraordinarily bright, though within them, there was an air of cold detachment. This gaze, when it met Xun'er's eyes, caused a jolt of fear in his heart. What is this gaze? Even if one practices the heartless path, it is impossible to have such a gaze. "Yellow Spring's Finger," Wang Lin whispered. The Yellow Spring's Finger, the third and final strike of Xun'er's 3 lethal techniques. Cultivating this strike was not as simple as the first 2, which could be understood through insight. The third strike had to first learn the Yellow Spring's Ascension art, which allowed one to experience the transition between life and death by entering the Yellow Springs, before it could be comprehended. It was said that Xun'er had gained his understanding when he was caught between life and death at the Yellow Springs, and, combining that with an inferior immortal art, managed to imitate this lethal technique. When this divine ability was unleashed, Xun'er once arrogantly said that even though it was not as powerful as the true inferior immortal art, the difference was negligible. For this reason, this technique could only be used freely after reaching the Ascendant Realm. As Wang Lin's finger pointed out, the sky suddenly darkened. Thunderous lightning appeared, streaking across the heavens. At the same time, it was as though someone had pulled apart the sky, revealing a vast landscape scroll that stretched across the horizon. The yellow spring's finger stirred Wang Lin's conceptual divine ability, and waves of gray mist began to pour out from the sky like a storm. At an unimaginable speed, the mist fused together and formed another yellow spring's finger, created from the gray mist. Cycle of life and death insight. Some cultivators around immediately gasped in astonishment. At this moment, all the cultivators' eyes were fixed on Wang Lin. Two yellow spring's fingers, moving at lightning speed, suddenly shot towards Qintao. A fierce battle intent flashed in Qintao's eyes. He let out a hearty laugh, swayed his body, and raised both hands. Golden crescent-shaped lights flickered in the palms of his hands. The moment the yellow spring's fingers reached him, he extended his hands forward and backward, catching the simultaneous attack from Wang Lin's pinky and the finger transformed by the cycle of reincarnation concept. A deafening roar rang out, echoing violently from Qintao's body. The sky seemed to be ravaged by a hurricane, and the cycle of reincarnation concept immediately dissipated. Wang Lin's body staggered backward, retreating several tens of feet, then another 100 feet. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, his immortal energy in utter turmoil. Looking up at Qintao, he spoke coldly, "I concede." Qintao, on the other hand, remained calm, withdrawing his arms. He shot Wang Lin a cold glance, the battle intent in his eyes not only unchanged but even stronger. In a low voice, he said, "After you ascend to the pinnacle, we'll fight again, Old Seven." He took a deep breath, suppressing the chaotic immortal energy in his body. Wang Lin's strike had completely taken him by surprise. Had it not been for his recent fortuitous encounter that elevated his cultivation to the mid-stage of the Ascension realm, he would have been injured even if he could have blocked the strike. Tian Yunzi glanced at Wang Lin, his eyes filled with more admiration, and smiled gently. "You two are both from the Violet lineage, both my disciples. Do not let any envy fester between you. Today, Qintao, since you've won, you shall be titled one of the 7 children of heavenly fate of the Violet lineage." With that, Tian Yunzi lightly tapped his brow in the void, and immediately, a translucent, purple-glowing crystal stone slowly emerged from his forehead and into his hand. He flicked it, and the crystal stone transformed into a purple rainbow, flying directly to Qintao, rapidly merging with his brow. "This is not your first time receiving the title of 7 children of heavenly fate. Now, comprehend it on your own," Tian Yunzi said slowly. Qintao took a deep breath, deeply bowed to Tian Yunzi, and respectfully said, "Disciple thanks master." Tian Yunzi nodded, then his gaze swept over the surrounding cultivators. With a clasped fist, he said warmly, "Everyone, my life of 10,000 years has come to its end. If there is nothing pressing, I ask that you all remain at my Tian Yun sect for a few more days. Let us exchange insights and verify our Dao accomplishments." The surrounding cultivators expressed their polite words, but the vast majority did not stay. Instead, they scattered, and within moments, tens of thousands of long rainbows shot up from the vicinity of Tian Yun's sect, flying off into the distance. At this moment, Sword Venerable Ling Tianho let out a wild smile. With a single movement, he stepped forward, covering 10 feet in an instant, transforming into a beam of sword light and flying toward the horizon. His voice echoed from afar, "Old Tian Yun, according to our promise, 3 months from now, at the Eastern Sea Demon Spirit Gate, you choose your people to enter." Tian Yunzi's gaze tightened slightly. He nodded, then turned to Wang Lin and said, "Wang Lin, follow me to pay homage to the ancestral spirits. Afterwards, I will teach you the forbidden divine ability and give you a life-saving treasure. From now on, you will truly be my disciple, Tian Yunzi." Wang Lin respectfully agreed, a flicker of light flashing in his eyes. The forbidden divine ability. It was only after becoming a true disciple of Tian Yunzi and paying homage to the ancestral spirits that one could learn this coveted technique, a divine ability derived from immortal arts. The winds and clouds parted, the sky opened up, and within the colorful clouds, Wang Lin looked down. Below, mountains and rivers passed by in a flash beneath his feet. Moments later, the 7-colored auspicious clouds passed over the various branches of the Tian Yun sect and arrived at the main gate of the sect. What unfolded before Wang Lin's eyes was a world that dazzled far beyond any immortal realm. 3 towering peaks rose to the sky, resembling giant fingers reaching for the heavens, standing tall between heaven and earth. One of these peaks was pure white, and as the sunlight flickered, it emitted thousands of crystal-like rays, merging into a single beam of dazzling light. The sight alone was enough to cause dizziness. On this mountain, there were patches of greenery scattered about, accentuating its majestic beauty. This mountain had no path, its surface covered in snow. The snow was the eternal frost of the 9 netherworlds, never melting for 100,000 years. Ordinary people couldn't even approach within 1,000 feet, as they would immediately be frozen stiff, their flesh turning into ice. Wang Lin, within the 7-colored clouds, could distinctly feel the chill drifting around the cloud and lingering outside. Among the 3 peaks, aside from the pure white one in the middle, the 2 flanking peaks were entirely black. The contrast between the black peaks and the white one created an overwhelming visual shock. Dark snowflakes fell gently upon the black peaks, as if there was no end to them. From a distance, the scene before him didn't seem real, but more like a grand painting, a black and white landscape drawn across the heavens and earth. Wang Lin cast a deep glance at the main gate of Tianyun's sect, his eyes gradually calming from the initial shock. Tianyunzi waved his large sleeve, and the 7-colored auspicious clouds surrounding them immediately dispersed. As the clouds vanished, a fierce chill held towards them, relentlessly infiltrating Wang Lin's body. Wang Lin remained composed, his immortal power circulating within him. Instantly, a white halo appeared around his body. The surrounding cold air clung to the halo but vanished without a trace. Tianyunzi stood with his hands behind his back, gazing at the 3 distant mountain peaks. He spoke calmly. "Wang Lin, what do you think of this place?" Wang Lin was silent for a moment, then slowly replied, "The cold here is overwhelming. It's a perfect place for cultivating cold attribute techniques." Tianyunzi smiled faintly and asked, "Is that all?" Wang Lin lowered his head, respectfully saying, "Disciple has limited experience and cannot discern anything else." Tianyunzi shook his head, a smile in his eyes as he looked at Wang Lin. "If you could discern something unusual about this place, when I teach you the forbidden divine ability later, I would make an exception and allow you to choose it yourself, unlike the other disciples, for whom I decide the technique. Wang Lin, are you tempted?" Wang Lin raised his head, a gentle expression on his face, and said, "Master's command is my law. I dare not disobey." He pointed to the black mountain on his left and said, "This peak is pitch black, and even the snow falling from it is black. However, this black snow has no chill. Compared to the white snow of the middle peak, it gives off a strange and eerie aura." Tianyunzi's expression remained unchanged, and he smiled. "Oh? Go on." Wang Lin pointed to the mountain on his right and said, "This peak is even more bizarre. I faintly sense a trace of vitality upon it. While everything in the world has some form of vitality, I have never encountered a mountain exuding vitality before." Tianyunzi's expression remained calm, and he smiled again. "Is that all? If that's the case, Wang Lin, you won't be able to choose your forbidden divine ability from me." Wang Lin smiled slightly and shook his head. "Master, the peaks on either side are illusions." As soon as these words left his mouth, a flash of surprise appeared in Tianyunzi's eyes. He looked at Wang Lin carefully for a few moments, then burst into laughter. With a wave of his sleeve, he swept Wang Lin up and shot like lightning towards the middle white peak. "This boy is sharp. My illusion technique, with his cultivation at the mid-infant metamorphosis stage, he could discern even a hint of it. This is rare." Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged, but his heart stirred. The moment he saw the 3 peaks, a distant memory of the ancient god 2C flashed in his mind. It was during 2C's 9th and final treasure forging attempt in his lifetime. For this forging, 2C had crafted a trident. He had spent countless years collecting materials before finally completing it. Once forged, 2C was satisfied with the trident, but its soul hadn't yet formed. So, he poured his ancient blood over it, casting it into a larger planet, where it transformed into 3 towering peaks. These peaks held the essence of mountains, and eventually, the soul of the mountain would form. 2C left far away, planning to return after his reincarnation to claim the treasure. The 3 peaks formed from the trident resembled the ones Wang Lin saw now. However, Wang Lin quickly dismissed the thought that this place, the Tianyun Star, was where the ancient god 2C had cast the treasure. The peaks before him were indeed, as he had said, illusions on both sides. But Tianyunzi's power is boundless. If he is hiding something, my current cultivation is far from enough to see through it. Wang Lin pushed away his distractions, and under Tianyunzi's guidance, he arrived beneath the middle white peak. "Wang Lin, I will wait for you atop the peak. The shorter the time it takes for you to reach here without using teleportation, the better the reward you will receive. The first 100 steps are nothing for someone at your cultivation level, but the last 100 steps will test your luck. I call the last 100 steps the Shattered Immortal Land." Tian Yunzi glanced at Wang Lin and took a step forward. In the blink of an eye, he vanished without a sound. Wang Lin looked up at the towering peak. Snowflakes filled the air, and if he stared for too long, it almost seemed as if countless white swords were descending from the sky. He withdrew his gaze, not rushing to climb the mountain. Instead, he sat cross-legged on the ground and quietly began to regulate his breath. After a while, he opened his eyes, a trace of calm in his gaze. He stood up, and with steady steps, began his ascent to the peak. The cold wind howled, and the snow froze to the bone. With each step Wang Lin took, the chill grew more intense, accompanied by eerie, almost demonic howls that swept towards him. The ice and snow on the ground left no trace when stepped upon. The entire mountain peak resembled a massive crystal of white, as though carved from ice. For ordinary people, even if they carried powerful treasures that could resist the cold, they would still be unable to proceed because the ground offered no foothold whatsoever. However, for Wang Lin, his feet never truly touched the mountain. Instead, he floated upward, 3 feet above the surface, completely unsupported. Here, teleportation was not forbidden, but since Tian Yunzi had stated that this was a test, using teleportation would undoubtedly mean failing the trial. Therefore, Wang Lin refrained from using it, instead choosing to calmly ascend step by step, his expression unchanging. The howling cold wind whistled past his ears, and before him was an expanse of brilliant, icy light. The air was thick with frost, and beneath his feet, the ice was so slick that even the slightest contact could send him sliding down the mountain. Yet for Wang Lin, these trials were far from insurmountable. In his past, at the ancient god's land, he had encountered many similar challenges. As time passed, the nearer he got to the summit, the colder the air became. His aura grew brighter, and when he was just 100 steps away from the peak, Wang Lin paused. He stopped in his tracks and did not advance further. Taking a deep breath, a cracking sound echoed as the breath left his body, freezing into ice particles within 3 feet in front of him. The sound of ice particles clinking against the ground rang out sharply. Simultaneously, a wave of cold air rushed into Wang Lin's body through his nose and mouth. The cold gradually dissipated only after circulating through his immortal power. Wang Lin looked up, and on the summit, covered by wind and snow, stood a pagoda glowing with rainbow-colored light, stunningly beautiful. Shattered immortal land. A cold gleam flashed in Wang Lin's eyes. After a brief silence, he descended. For the first time since stepping onto this mountain, Wang Lin's feet made contact with the icy surface of the crystal mountain. The instant his feet touched the ground, an odd feeling of weightlessness immediately surged up. His eyes narrowed, and with a cold grunt, he placed his right foot forward, stepping with apparent ease. But with a loud crash, his right foot sank into the ground, burying itself a full foot into the ice, stabilizing him in place. At that moment, an unimaginable chill burst out from the ground beneath him. This cold was far more intense than any wind he had encountered during his climb, and it surged into his body through his right foot. It raced up his meridians, heading straight for his chest and abdomen. However, as this cold air circulated through his body, a divine sense emerged from Wang Lin's essence spirit. It swept through his body, and the cold air that had entered him seemed to lose its aggressiveness, gradually retreating and returning to the ice beneath him through his right foot. This cold is nothing compared to the chill in my heart. Since it cannot freeze my heart, how can it freeze my spirit or my body? Truly laughable. Wang Lin raised his head, a cold smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. With his left foot, he took another step forward. At that moment, his smile became the coldest thing on this snow-covered mountain, with the icy wind ceasing to advance within 3 feet of him, and the drifting snow halting just above his head. With each step, Wang Lin's feet sank deeper into the ice, the sound of heavy thuds ringing out as he marched forward, his path unwavering toward the summit. His heart remained unmelted, and an indomitable will surrounded his entire body. This was the state of the questioning heart. If my heart is cold, no external cold can freeze even a single breath. Wang Lin's gaze was icy, his aura exuding an extreme chill. At this moment, he no longer appeared as an ordinary mortal but rather as an ancient, unyielding glacier that had never melted through the ages. At the summit, the pagoda stood silently, while Tian Yunzi observed Wang Lin's steady approach, his eyes gleaming brightly as he locked onto him. He fell into a moment of silence. Initially, Tian Yunzi had thought that Wang Lin would be able to take no more than 10 steps in the shattered immortal land before being unable to proceed. Taking 10 steps would be the limit for someone in the mid-infant metamorphosis stage. If Wang Lin could achieve this, he would be summoned to learn forbidden techniques. But now, Wang Lin had already taken over 20 steps. This had surpassed the limit of the infant metamorphosis stage and was already nearing the edge of what even a cultivator with the power of an immortal could endure, as it was only with such power that one could prevent their essence spirit from shattering from the cold after taking more than 20 steps. Even Xun'er, known for his calmness, could not help but feel a hint of shock in his heart. Questioning heart. This child is actually able to enter this state here. Cultivating immortality, cultivating truth, cultivating the Tao, this child seems to have some understanding of what the word Tao truly means. His heart is cold, and thus, even though the world is cold, it cannot touch his core. With this state of mind, he has taken over 20 steps. Wang Lin, I may have underestimated you. If you were to cultivate for over 10,000 years, who knows if you could reach the 3 realms of shattered nirvana? Wang Lin's steps paused after his 21st stride. At this moment, his entire body was engulfed in a cold, ice-like chill. My concept is a faint realization beneath the cycle of life and death. The path of reincarnation is the most heartless path in the world. Behind Wang Lin, the heavens and earth changed color as countless snowflakes, descending from the sky, were suddenly swept aside by an invisible force. At the same time, a giant scroll appeared in mid-air behind him. The scroll revealed scenes of mountains and rivers, but there were no colorful hues, only black and white. Wang Lin took a deep breath, lifted his foot, and stepped forward for the 22nd time. With this step, a resounding boom echoed through the air, and the entire mountain shook slightly. The ice beneath Wang Lin's feet cracked open with visible fissures, showing just how solidly he had stepped. Standing inside the pagoda, Xun'er's eyes erupted with a bright gleam. Years ago, Sun Yun, with the cultivation of late infant metamorphosis, stepped out 26 steps. Wang Lin, how many steps can you take? Wang Lin suddenly lifted his head, gazing at the pagoda atop the mountain. After a long silence, he took another step forward. This time, he did not just step once. He stepped twice, thrice, 4 times, 5 times. With the first step, Wang Lin's eyes glowed coldly. With the second, his body turned as cold as frost. With the third, the scroll of life and death behind him suddenly shrank from its enormous size and spiraled to hover above his head. With the fourth step, Wang Lin's aura surged like a rainbow, his internal coldness filling his entire body. Merging with his concept, a strange power enveloped him as he took the 5th step. With this 5th step, Wang Lin's eyes shot out like lightning, silently gazing at the pagoda atop the mountain. Each time his foot landed, a rumbling sound reverberated through the air. After 5 steps, the ice surrounding Wang Lin's body cracked into countless fissures. Strangely, it did not shatter, but instead, within the blink of an eye, it returned to its original state. 27 steps. The scroll of reincarnation above Wang Lin's head suddenly moved, merging completely from a mere 3 inches into the crown of his head, blending with his essence spirit. In that instant, an astonishing aura burst forth from Wang Lin's body. His long hair floated without wind, and the surrounding snowflakes spiraled wildly, swirling outward from him. The concept. It is the realization gained at the time of spirit transformation, experienced through the pursuit of the early, mid, and late stages, and ultimately taking a tangible form. At this moment, as long as one's cultivation was sufficient, with enough immortal jade, and having gone through the process of transcending the mundane, becoming an immortal embryo, acquiring an immortal body, and merging the essence spirit with the body, one could achieve infant metamorphosis. In the understanding of infant metamorphosis stage cultivators, the concept would finally take on a tangible form. Though this form still required gradual transition, it could not be achieved in an instant. Wang Lin's path of life and death reincarnation was an exceptionally rare realization. This path was the hardest to materialize. Since entering infant metamorphosis, Wang Lin had only been able to slightly explore the materialization of the concept, but he had never fully grasped it. If he continued like this, the chance of reaching the peak would be slim. However, today, in this shattered immortal land, combining the realization of his heart's path with his concept, based on his previous 22 steps, Wang Lin stepped forward 5 more times. These 5 steps were steps of the path, full of an unstoppable momentum. Once he began, there was no turning back. If he stepped, he would surpass those who came before him. With the aura of the path, Wang Lin's concept finally took a crucial step toward materialization. Though this step did not increase the power of the concept significantly, nor did it raise his cultivation, it opened a key path for him to eventually reach the peak. Concept integrated into the body. Xun'er took a deep breath from the pagoda above and murmured, "This child, within 100 years, may reach the peak. 27 steps. Wang Lin remained silent. He could feel it. 27 steps was the limit. In fact, at the 25th step, his path and concept had already reached their limit for his current stage. But with the realization of the concept merging with his body, Wang Lin was able to take a few more steps, reaching the 27 steps he had just completed. The 28th step, Wang Lin knew, was beyond him. If he attempted it, his entire cultivation would collapse, and even his essence spirit would immediately dissipate. At that moment, the pagoda atop the mountain suddenly burst forth in radiant seven-colored light, forming 7 rings of light that enveloped the entire mountain. All the cold vanished almost instantly. The ice layer in front of Wang Lin immediately reflected the 7-colored light, and a long rainbow descended from the ice layer to the ground before Wang Lin. "Come up and meet me." Tian Yunzi's voice came slowly from the pagoda above, filled with authority. Wang Lin's expression remained calm as he took a deep breath, adjusted his inner energy, and stepped onto the rainbow. With his first step, by the second step, he had already crossed the remaining 70 steps and appeared beneath the pagoda atop the mountain. This was an exceptionally ordinary-looking treasure pagoda, its exterior utterly unremarkable. At this moment, a burst of colorful light suddenly gathered beneath the pagoda, and in the blink of an eye, it transformed into the figure of Tian Yunzi. I, the spirit of the ancestors of Tian Yun's sect, am not a mere cultivator, but the very essence of heavenly fate. My life's pursuit has been heavenly fate, for all fates, whether determined by heaven or shaped by humans, are nothing but fate itself. I had no intention of passing by the vermilion birdstar, but when you entered a state of spirit transformation and glimpsed the origin of the heavenly way, I saw it and felt a trace of affection for your talent. This, then, is the fateful opportunity between you and me, a sign that we share the destiny of master and disciple. I, Tian Yunzi, have devoted my life to the belief in heavenly fate, and so, I accept you as my disciple. Tian Yunzi paused here, briefly glancing at Wang Lin. Wang Lin stood respectfully, his head lowered in silence. You have taken 27 steps, exceeding my expectations. You have not disappointed me. Tian Yunzi withdrew his gaze and raised his right hand, grasping at the air. A sharp tearing sound echoed through the heavens as the entire sky was split in two by Tian Yunzi's effortless motion, revealing a massive crack. Through this rift, 7-colored light poured out, illuminating the world. In an instant, the 3 peaks of Tian Yun's sect, including the pagoda, were bathed in the light of 7 colors. At the same time, the 7 sects of red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, and purple each emitted a different aura, causing even half of the sky above Tian Yun's star to shimmer with the 7-colored radiance. Beneath this source of 7-colored light, under the enormous rift, Tian Yunzi, glowing with 7-colored brilliance, smiled and said, "In my life, I have always adored the 7-colored light. Combined with the black and white here, under the dazzling 9 colors, this is the most beautiful sight in the world." After speaking, Tian Yunzi's expression hardened, and in that moment, he shed his previous kindness, revealing an overwhelming aura of authority. He turned his gaze toward Wang Lin and commanded in a solemn tone, "Wang Lin, kneel." Without a word, Wang Lin immediately knelt on the ground, raising his head to look at Tian Yunzi. Tian Yunzi's right hand pressed toward the void above Wang Lin, and he called out, "Today, I, Tian Yunzi, under the 9-colored light, accept this disciple, Wang Lin, as the 7th disciple of the purple lineage. Wang Lin, do you wish to become my disciple, to follow the sect rules, never defy Tian Yun's sect, focus on cultivation, achieve the great Tao, and prove your Tao fruit? Answer me." Wang Lin's gaze sharpened, his expression resolute as he calmly replied, "As long as Master does not abandon me, I will not abandon Master. As long as heavenly fate does not forsake me, I will not forsake heavenly fate. This is my vow, Wang Lin's vow." Tian Yunzi's gaze sharpened as he looked closely at Wang Lin, slowly nodding. He reached out with his left hand toward the enormous rift in the sky, causing the entire heavens to tremble. From within the rift, a massive 7-colored altar slowly descended. The altar was so large that even as it descended, the surrounding space cracked with the sound of being unable to bear its weight. Countless 7-colored wooden tablets were affixed to the altar. With a beckoning gesture from Tian Yunzi's left hand, one of the wooden tablets transformed into a purple beam of light, rushing toward him and landing in his hand. Tian Yunzi's fingertip, like a blade, swiftly carved a line of characters on the tablet. In the first year of Tian Yunstar's martial arts trials, Wang Lin is accepted as the 7th disciple of the purple lineage. After finishing the engraving, Tian Yunzi flicked the wooden tablet, which instantly caught fire, turning into purple flames that soared into the air, leaving behind a purple rainbow as it returned to the altar. Now, I shall impart to you the forbidden divine ability. What would you like to learn?